And we're live for another episode of the .NET Doc Show. We'll be here for 60 minutes, whether you like that or not. And I'd like to point out, it is all unscripted. As cardiologists of .NET, we have a pulse on the .NET community and like to think that we prescribe heart-healthy choices in the ever-evolving .NET ecosystem. I'm your host, Scott Addy, and with me today are co-hosts Myra Wenzel and Luis Quintanilla. You may welcome today's guest, or you may recognize today's guest, rather. Bruno was with us almost a year ago now. And in that particular episode, he talked to us about coding with drones. As I recall, there was almost a drone crash in his office that took out the wall of MVP awards that you see.
That's dangerous.
Yes. So welcome, Bruno. Why don't you just briefly introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, oh my God, it's been a year. It seems like it was yesterday. I didn't even remember that it was a year ago that I was basically pick up my drone demos, write them in C#, tested, and I get a lot of people excited about that. And yes, that's me, Bruno Capuano here, talking from Canada, not a Canadian, probably noticed the accent. I came from Spain to Canada, full story. I'm a Microsoft MVP. I've been an MVP for a long time, plus 14 years. And I've been the .NET developer since day one, probably in the early 2000s. But in the last couple of years, I've been doing a lot of machine learning, mostly with Python, but I still have my heart in. If you ask me, I want to look for any available excuse to go back to C#. And this is why I want to tell you about this, because I managed to fit this into a really cool project, and I was looking forward to share. Oh, take a look at what I learned.
Awesome.
Very cool. Thank you for that intro. With that, Luis, why don't you hit us with the checkup segment? See what we got.
Let's do it. So, all right. So let me switch over here to this screen. Whoops, wrong screen.
We said
rookie mistakes here.
So no need to say sorry.
There we go. Okay, so what we're taking a look at today is this document. You can find it by going over to the AKA, I think it's, let me see here. Start the ticker here. So aka.ms/cv-.net-quickstart. And essentially this document goes over the read client library or the REST API. What this is part of is the cognitive services, computer vision service offerings that are made available to you through Azure. And one of the things that you'll notice is you have a wide variety of programming languages that you can use this client library as well as the REST API. If none of the languages that are on here are, if you're using one of the languages that is not supported by the library, you can definitely use the REST API as well. In this case, we're going to be taking a look at C#. But again, the same sort of steps are apply regardless of which language you're using. Now, when it comes to what exactly this library does, it's essentially a client library for object character recognition, right? So imagine you have some sort of PDF, maybe you have an invoice or something like that, and you'd like to be able to sort of look at an image of it and be able to extract text from it. That's kind of what this allows you to do, right? And the main thing that you're going to need for working with this is the Microsoft Azure Cognitive Services Vision Computer Vision NuGet package. So you want to make sure that you have that if you're working with this library inside of your .NET application. And from there, it's basically, setting up a few settings here in terms of your subscription key, right? Because again, this is on Azure and it's using Azure services. You're gonna need some way to know which service you're referring to, right? At that point, after authenticating the client, all you have to do is you take an image. In this case, it's an image of a PDF, I believe, right? And then you just call the API, right? So you're going to see here, you're going to go ahead and use the client to go ahead and call the API. At that point, you then go ahead and just extract the results from it. So you're going to see there's this get read results async, and that's going to give you back what it found, what sort of text the API found within the image that you gave it, right? And then at that point, it's just up to you what exactly from the results are you interested in? You know, are you interested in the company name? Are you interested in I don't know, the phone number, things like that, right? You know, you can imagine using this for perhaps licenses or even you know, any sort of documentation that you might need to analyze. And then at that point, you're using just standard C# for loops to write out to the console each line of text that was found by this library. So it's as easy as that, right? There's no machine learning involved in this case. You just made a call to some API using this standard library, and you were able to analyze images, extract text, and then downstream you can use that throughout your application in other ways. All right. So if you're interested in giving this a look again, the link is aka.ms/cv-.net-quick start. So with that, let's turn it over to Bruno.
All right, let's kick off the hallway track. So Bruno, what are we going to talk about today? What's this OpenCV thing I've been hearing about?
Hey, OpenCV. OpenCV it's probably one of the most popular image libraries that people are using to do basic stuff. When I say basic, it will become complicated soon, but if you need to start working with images, this is a great place to start. And it become popular. Let me quickly, I am not going to present, I am going to just share some slides about where this came from. So it was, oh my God, it's older than I think. For me, it was started in 2010, but Intel released this on 2006. So it's probably 15 years ago. And initially was a library to be used with C and C++. So you need to have some specific skills to get there. At the beginning, it was kind of hard to get here. There was an amazing Willow Garage, a place with a lot of samples and whatever. I remember back in 2010 that we used this to analyze license plates and analyze cars getting in and out of a parking lot to detect the plates of the cars. And it works really, really great. But it was super, super tricky to install, to use, because you need to basically, there was no library that you can copy, paste, and use. You need to basically download the code, build the code, and depending on the target, if you're going to use 32 bits, 62 bits, or whatever target, you need to build in different ways. So it becomes kind of a very specific and hard library. Lucky for us, people started to write wrappers on top of the source library. And in Python, in example, super popular, it's one of the most popular and used libraries. If you need to work with an image in Python, usually you go for OpenCV. There are other libraries, but you go there. And hey, right now, if you start to think, and just an example, Luis was talking about community services. When you create a model in custom vision, you create your own object detection model, and you export this model to be used in a Docker container library, the code there is a Python code, and it's used OpenCV to start to do the minor tweaks in the image. Resize, rotate, clean, and these kind of things. But we can also use this in C#. And it's really, it was a surprise to me when I was talking with a couple of colleagues last year that we need to do some image processing and in the .NET world, and they're starting to struggle. And I basically said, you know what? I use this in Python. I use this in C++. Let's take a look at C#. And oh my God, it's super easy. I mean, it's not easy. I need to stop my excitement here. You need to learn what you are doing, but you can use this in C#. So if you are a .NET developer, you can install a package. And by the way, it's super easy to install. You can add a NuGet package to your project and start to use it and start to have it there. And by the way, what you can do with OpenCV, and I will show later the main features that you can use. This is a cross-platform library, Java, Windows, Linux, Macs. We know this stuff. It works with .NET Core. So if we want to do something on top of .NET Core, Windows, Linux, Macs, there it is. And hey, in the official slides, they don't talk about C#, but I am going to show you that, yes, it's supported in C# right now. And you can do a lot of stuff. I mean, you can do low-level activities like try to pick up an image and try to analyze and see what's happening there, to try to have, I don't know, the segmentation of image, try to do some transform. Or also the cool part is OpenCV has a couple of entry points, has a couple of methods that allows us to use already trained and very popular machine learning or deep learning libraries like YOLO or Coco or these super popular object recognition libraries that you can use with OpenCV with 10 lines of code. So if you ever need to do some deep learning using C#, and we have libraries to do that, OpenCV, I would probably suggest to everyone, hey, take a look what you can do also with OpenCV, because the wrapper, the abstraction layer that they have on top of these deep learning models, it's super, super easy to understand. So this is probably the most fast OpenCV intro that I did in my life. But if it is clear what we can do, or the stuff that we can do with OpenCV.
We got a question about OpenCV with FSharp. And so if you mentioned that it's a NuGet package, so I imagine that you could do with any of the .NET languages, right?
Yes, that's a great question. I haven't used FSharp in a long time, really long time, but yes, it's a .NET, it's a NuGet package. So I'm guessing that you can add it into a FSharp project and start to use it there. The hello world of OpenCV, which is basically let's create a project from the start. I like to start writing code. This is just my aside, and show how we can open an image, access to a camera, open an image from the web or whatever, and use it.
And before we see some code, in terms of the techniques, right? Like right now, you're seeing deep learning, and you're seeing these, transformer models, and YOLO, like you mentioned. But OpenCV is much older than all those, right? So the techniques I assume that it's using, it's a little bit more of classical approaches, but still it holds up, to this day, and it's a very good library for image processing. Do you know exactly which sort of techniques OpenCV uses?
No, I know that you are going to ask this because I know that in the machine learning.NET world we have also this similar, but I don't know. I couldn't get deep there to understand what is happening, what's the name or whatever, but I will promise myself that I will write something about this, because yes, we can do very similar activities with machine learning.NET, and this is just mostly focused on the image processing world,
right?
But it's the same. One of the approaches is very similar, just a wrapper on top of the the YOLO model and config and get and wait and using there. But hey, that you to just give me the excuse to write a little in my blog about how this is work and the comparison between the two of them.
Awesome.
Yeah, first time that my dog made an appearance, so that was funny. And what is the best approach to use OpenCV in C#? So Jose is asking that. Is it mgoCV, OpenCV Sharp, or even SciSharp stack? I'm not familiar with any of those.
So yes, those are packages, those are wrappers on top of OpenCV that you can add to your project. When we started to use this last year, we did a comparison between the two first, the ECMU and the OpenCV Sharp, and we went to the OpenCV Sharp. Why? Because it was, and again, maybe the ECMU changed a little. It was super, super similar to the C# samples. So there is a huge community on OpenCV that's already creating and adding add-ins and creating and writing about OpenCV in C++. And what we find last year, and I'm probably talking, last year is March this year or something like this, COVID days, so my head is, it's March 2021, is that the OpenCV Sharp, it's kind of easier to read. But there was, if you already know ECMU-CV, the features that are there is the same that we have in the other one. So for us, it was kind of for a team that doesn't have any experience with OpenCV, how easy for them was to read C++ code and understand how to translate this into C#.
Yeah, that's always, I think, especially in the machine learning sort of world, right? You have a lot of these really great libraries like TensorFlow, PyTorch, and stuff like that with tons of content and a great community. And then when you have sort of their C# equivalents or some other, bindings in other languages, right? It's like, well, do you keep the .NET way or the way that, that particular language does things and their conventions at the expense that it might be harder to take existing samples and existing documentation, right? For the sake of, staying true to your, sort of your conventions? Or do you adopt more of the conventions of like the native language that it's used in, sort of like Python or C++, as you mentioned, right? Where you can reuse those samples. So it's definitely always a trade-off there, right?
Yes, for us, we didn't even get to the point to do some performance benchmark or whatever. It was the team all together getting to a point that, hey, I can read this and I can understand this. So, okay, that's good enough for us because also the performance was very good.
Yep.
Okay, so let's go to what I like, to write some code. So Visual Studio 2022, OpenCV works in, right now, the version that the demo that I'm going to use is .NET 6, 2022 Visual Studio, and the latest version of OpenCV FSharp, but it will work with .NET 5 and also with .NET Core 3.1. I think I tested. I am going to share everything later also in my GitHub repo, so if you want the code, it's there. And let's create a new project from scratch. Console project, yes, I'm going to show later some applications. So let's do event demo, .NET 6, LTS, and that's basically it. We love this. I don't know the formal name of this non-namespace file. I always forget, but I love it. It makes the code that we are going to write super, super simple. So, hey, that's the first step, and then let's add the package. As I mentioned, there are if we go for OpenCV, as the first question show, there are so many different packages. You have here one that I don't know, OpenCV. Then you have one on top of CNTK, another library that we're going to use, the ECMOCV, and then we have here OpenCV FSharp 4, which is the one that I am going to use for the demos. And by the way, when we add this package, we need to add basically 2 packages per project. One is the OpenCV FSharp, which is the wrapper. It is the one that performs all of the OpenCV activities. And then we need to add a target platform. So I am going to add, it's down here also. I am going to add also the OpenCV FSharp and the Windows implementation. But if we are writing code to be, to be used in a web app, in a web app in the Docker container in Linux, there is also an Ubuntu or a Debian, I can't remember, target there. And if we want to use Mac, there is also a Mac target there. So basically, every time that we use OpenCV, we need to add these 2 libraries. One is the OpenCV FSharp, and the other is the runtime that we want to use. So let's go for this. Let's install this. There it is.
Wait, I do have a question there, and maybe I missed this part, but let's say I do have a UWP app and want to use something like this. Is there another package that I could use to support that?
Yes, it is. I think this one. I need to double check, but we did a test because we have some WPF and UWP applications, and I think this one is the one that covers the Universal Windows Platform applications. I will double check and I write probably a tweet as soon as we finish. But yes, there are 2 wins approach: one everything but Universal Windows Platform, and this one that cover everything.
And there is a WPF extensions under as well. So
yeah, there is a moment that this become amazing. We have, and I will show this later, but the W in OpenCV, an image is not an image. It's basically an array of numbers, which is an image. And if we want to convert this image to be used in WinForm applications or WPF applications, these extensions basically makes our life easier. Go in and out, drop an OpenCV image, get a WPF image, which is the format is kind of different. So this kind of extension help us to, and in the other way also from WPF image from a screen to OpenCV image. So this extension help us to do these kind of conversions and other activities.
And before we move on from that, we do have a question. I'll put it up on the screen here. Is there a WebAssembly runtime, I assume, for OpenCV, for our Blazor folks out there?
Yes, I don't know. I didn't. I prepared a lot of demos for today, and my mistake. I completely forgot about our Blazor friends. I don't know. I need to double check. I need to find what is there. I'm guessing that yes, but I didn't even done anything with assembly and OpenCV. So I will take a look. And again, so sorry.
If we go by based on like the ML.net,
we don't claim to know it all on this show. If you were to ask me that question, I would say I have no idea as well. So.
Yeah, probably there is, but like if we go by ML.net and kind of some of the initial sort of challenges of using it with Blazor, part of that came from there were some C++ native libraries that ML.net used that didn't have WebAssembly counterparts. So if those aren't present, right, then you're probably not going to be able to run on Blazor. But if they are, then yeah, probably you can.
Yes, and again, I will another topic to write. Thanks, David. Another topic to write in the near future, because it makes a lot of sense also to use OpenCV in the Blazor app, in the WebAssembly. There may be some tricks there to make it, because we use some low-level libraries. We are not going to use it. This is in libraries. There are probably some tweaks there. Back.
Did we lose Bruno?
Yeah. Oh no, he's
we got
back.
him.
I don't know what's happening. I see the image there. I'm back.
You're back. Yeah. Yep. Let's move on with what you were going to show in VS.
Yes. So we have the here. Before writing some code, let me add some. Yep. Not this one. Not this one. Let me copy one of the something to show. Sorry, going fast. This is just me.
It's okay. And while you're searching, one thing that you were sharing before on the template for the console was the top level statements. The thing that you said you didn't know the name, the thing for the new template. So it's a new C# 10 feature that simplifies the program.cs template. Well,
yes, as I mentioned, I always forget the name. I never forget the top level.
Yeah, top level statements, just so if people want to research later on their own as well.
So, hey, this is. I am going to use one of. I always when I explain this, there are 3 or 4 key elements in OpenCV. One is the mat class. The mat is not a name, it's not whatever. It's a short name for a matrix. So it's basically a vector of numbers. So it's a matrix of number, and this is what we represent what we use to do any kind of image process. So we can create any type of mat and pick up one, do a convert to another, do some crop a section of the image. For this one, what I am going to use, I am going to pick up this file that I add into my project, and I am going to use a window. This is not a Windows. This is not a WinForm or the WPF window. This is an implementation that OpenCV has to show a windows, and I am going to show these windows with a title and a content. And when I press a key, this has an press key element, is going to show me that image. So super easy. Let me set a startup project, and with this, we are going to show the image. By the way, the image is an image. This is a photo that we take in holidays in Eastern Canada a couple of months ago, and it's a very big image. So this is my image. It's we take it with the phone. That's myself. This is my wife and kids. Sorry about that. I always put my family here in my demos.
Your family.
So this is kind of, hey, we have a big image. Nobody likes this big image, so let's do the ABC of OpenCV. So let's resize this image. So I will create, not this one, sorry. I will create a new image, and I will define Again, super simple code. I will define a size, 640, 480, it's nice. We can work with that. It's nice to show also sharing a screen. And this is what I love about OpenCV. When you need to do something like resize, what are you going to do? Input image, output image, and the size. That's it. You don't need to do anything else. And we have here in our new image, in the same image object, I should probably create different ones. I am going to have this already in the new size. So I will run this, and a couple of seconds later, we should have a smaller window with my photo family. Somewhere there, I missed it.
And the resize, it does it in place, I'm guessing, right? Because you're passing in the source and what output you want it to come out to that image.
Yes. So it should be somewhere here, or it's in the other monitor. Let me see, where is this? Sometimes when you do this in the same object, you have this issue. So let's create a new image, a new match with nothing. So resize the first one to the second one, demo bots, and let's run this again. Oh, sorry, it's in this monitor. I have a small monitor for my previews. So there it is. So sorry about that. I was looking in these two and it was in this one. So, hey, this is the resize of the image. As you see, what I like about this is that the code, it's super, super simple. If you need to do a resize, you can do something like this. If you want to apply OpenCV from scratch, have some filters, some effects that you can apply to an image. So in example, if we want to apply a canny image, which is popular in the machine learning world because we are going to get the contours and the stuff that we have there, we can do, let me create a new mat. I will apply the canny effect here from the new image, and let's do the effect, and let's show these ones. So in this demo, what I am going to do is I'm going to apply this effect, and let me check the 3 monitors, and there it is. It picks up the original image and show the contours. If we want to show the 2 images, I can do something like this with another using. So I'm having 2 windows here showing the image and the effect image, and we are going to have the 2 windows. There it is one, and the other. In which monitor is the other one? I can't find the other one. Oh, I have the same title, sorry. There it is. I have my original image and my apply effect image. And again, what I like about this is that you don't need to install anything in your machine. The NuGet package will do everything for you, the 2 NuGet package. It's easy to start when you start to, an example, open an image, and then you can do this test. And if you need to rotate, resize, even add some text into the image, this is a great way that you can do this. I don't know, if you want to create a processing batch to add some text into your image with a watermark or something like this, adding text, it's super, super easy. Let me go here, pick up, let's do some copy paste here. Let me add some text, and let's take a look of how this works. So I am going to add some text in this one, and basically I will pick up my new image. I will add this text in a specific location in the top 10, 20 corner, and then I will pick up one of the fonts, the size of the fonts, and the color, and F5, and 5 seconds later, I will have my Hello Canada, as you can see here, is in the top, somewhere here in the top left corner, and of course, it's also in my effect image. But adding lines, adding images, working with resizing images, this is usually something very easy to do when you are using OpenCV.
So I have two questions, Bruno. The first one comes from the audience, and that is simply, is there a link to this code that you're showing on GitHub?
Not yet. As soon as we finish, in my repo, which is github.com, /elbruno/ I think it's events, my repo. So I am going to share everything there. GitHub, not this one. So in my repos here in events, I will at the bottom, I will add everything from today, and you will have the full set of demos that I'm showing today, which are a lot.
Okay, thank you for that. We'll make sure that finds its way into the chat window, your GitHub user profile. My other question, though, is in cases where file size matters, and maybe I want to compress the image, is it possible to apply compression using OpenCV?
Yes, but it's tricky because as far as I remember, and this is before OpenCV FSharp, when I used to do this in C++, the compression libraries, it was tricky to set up them because mostly they have some dependencies there. I haven't done compression in C#. We resize and we rotate and we do these kind of activities, but you can do compression, and probably it's going to be a nice weekend challenge to talk about this and to play around.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and you also mentioned batch processing. In this case, the examples, it's really easy to see step by step kind of what you're doing. But I would imagine you're also able to create pipelines of these transformations and then just apply them all sort of at once instead of going step by step.
Yes. I mean, and you just mentioned this is most like a coding approach, and this is, if I take a look at this, the important lines here are these ones. So, hey, let's create some kind of batch processing or whatever to do the resizing first, or do the resizing and the text later. There are so many ways that you can do this. And as I mentioned, you can even run this in a Docker container. So it will allow you to go to the cloud, put your credit card there, and if you need to do more, you can pay for that, but it will scale in an amazing way. And if we don't have more questions on this, let me show you, because working with a single image is fine. And by the way, I was looking at this the other day, and I can't remember. I know that if I go here and I do this, I will have, I will have my image if I go to my repo and add .png at the end. So this is popular here, but if you go for any repo and you add .png at the end, you will have the profile image of the user. One of the super cool features about OpenCV is that it works with a lot of formats, and I'm going to show you later how this works. And I haven't tested if this is going to work. Probably not. Yes. It didn't download everything, but I will show you later how with the video files, it makes some magic there. So the first what we've seen is around working with a single image. Let's go to another scenario where we have a video. So in this scenario, I have a video file. This is, let me open this. Oh, no, not the open with. I'm sorry. I'm playing around with my Windows 10 video file. So I have a video here that we use in the global AI community to open our sessions, and it's a very nice video where we have the collaborations. Let me mute this. You're not going to hear this, but just in case. So, hey, a lot of people, this is from last year, I think. And if we want to access to a video with OpenCV, what we need to do is, again, this is .NET 6 project, and very similar what we just did. The main difference here is that I am going, and let me copy this, I am going to create a capture object here, a capture element. I'm going to say to this capture element that, hey, use this file, and then in an eternal loop, and there are better ways to do this, what I am going to use is I am going to basically read the frame from the capture. So I'm going to read one of the frames, in this case of a video. If I have something to show, if there is an empty frame, I'm going to break the loop. Otherwise, I will resize this, we already saw this, and I will show this in an image. So if I run this second one, what we are going to have, and this is the place that it becomes interesting, we have basically, we are analyzing frame by frame the same video that I show you. And this is the place that if we want, we can apply an effect to the video. So I can show here, I can go back to my demo and add my text here. Before, after the resize, I will set in image new hello from Canada. So here, if I run this, you will see in the video, in the top right corner, the hello from Canada text that I just add. I can record this once I start to do these frame-by-frame conversions. But what I really like about this is that once I have this, this read, pick up a source and read frame by frame, I can change the video capture to, instead of using a local video, to access one of my cameras. So right now, what I am going to use, I have several set of USB cameras in my machine, and I set up and give the access, the index to my camera, and I can say, hey, OpenCV, access my camera. And a couple of seconds later, there it is. I have my hello from Canada there, and it's almost real time. It's super fast. I mean, my camera is also not a good one. I have OBS in the back, but this is my camera. This is what I read, what I see right now with my camera. I have, as I said, I have several. But if I try to access the zero, this one is being used by OBS. But I can do also other stuff, like in example, I install one app in my phone that basically makes my phone an IP camera. If I launch this app, it's called Droid Cam or whatever, and here I test this with this, and HTTP, I am copying the, and I give this an URL. This is going to open, it's okay, 188.47, this is my port. Yes. So it's going to open my phone camera right now. And hey, that's me in my camera. Oh, let me switch. There it is. So you can see my camera here. Oh, this is not the one, but hey, I am moving my camera around. You can see my green screen in the back. You can see a lot of stuff. And I only change here the video name to the index of a USB camera. Oh, that's the worst angle ever to talk about this. Or an IP address, HTTP IP address to access a camera, and I can do here stuff like this, or I can even add, I can even access an RSTP camera, a UDP camera, any kind of feeds. OpenCV is good enough to start to do this kind of thing. So I want to show you how easy it is to do this, because this is the key part of what we can do later. That is, start to do some image processing here. I can access a camera, and I can start to do some face analysis. I can start to do, hey, let's detect faces on the camera, or detect objects, or use YOLO. And everything is going to be kind of here. Once I read and I have access to this image object, I can start to add text, do some conversions, resize, analyze this with the object, with any specific models. So there are plenty of activities that I can do. And as you see, the code is, what I like about this is the code is, it's easy to read. It's easy to understand. It doesn't require, in the C++ world, it's kind of trickier, but I really think that if you are a .NET developer and you want to do some image activities, hey, this is not a hard point to start.
This may be a good time to pause and take some questions that we're seeing in the chat window. There's a couple of questions that I'll group together here, sort of asking, what's a good use case for OpenCV? So Bruno, are there projects you've used this on in the real world? If so, what were some things you were doing with OpenCV and why?
Yes, as I mentioned at the beginning, we used to use this for detect the license plates in cars in the entrance of a parking lot. It was fun. It works great, and it was Windows XP days. So this has been a while, but today, if you need to, for example, resize an image, you have a website and you are uploading images and whatever, you can do that using different libraries. There are tons of libraries that you can use, but just resizing, this is super easy and super fast. Also, the benchmark and the performance of OpenCV is always in the top list around. So this is a fast way to do this. If you need to do some, and I will show you later, if you want to do some computer vision to detect objects, to detect, to use a trained model to do these kind of things, this is a nice way to apply this effect, to rotate, resize, add your watermark in the bottom right corner, add your hello from Canada. This is all the activities that you can do. And again, this is the entry point level activities. Then you can move further and do more stuff, but that's more fun in the computer vision world.
Okay. And then one other question I saw in the chat is getting at, hey, if I only need to resize images, is there value to using something like OpenCV over a library like FSharp?
I will say that, hey, it's up to the developer and the team. If you already are using FSharp, if you already know how to use FSharp, stay there. You're comfortable with that. If you want to start from scratch, give it a try to OpenCV. You just see the code. It's super simple. So I will say it's preferred choice. Maybe if you want to do some, I don't know, if you really have some performance requirements and you need to run a couple of benchmark tests to see if you are aiming for speed or these kind of things. OpenCV is, as I mentioned, in the benchmark side is always in the top 5 or top 3 or whatever, so it's usually very good. But I will leave this. Give it a try because it's super easy.
Yeah, and we're hearing all kinds of use cases in the chat. One thing that came to mind was using this for some sort of anomaly detection, maybe on a production line where you want to, see are there flaws or defects in this particular item that's coming down the assembly line.
Yes, I mean, if you work with a team, that machine learning team, and they train a specific model to analyze these video feeds and detect these defects and detect these issues or whatever's in the production line. Also, OpenCV is made a tool that you want to use to access to those images from a camera, from an IP camera, or from an internal network camera that you have there, to do some pre-process to the image, maybe resize or adapt it to a specific size, and then use the model. So let me show you, regarding to that, let me show you the YOLO model, the YOLO demo. The YOLO demo is, for the ones who does not know, YOLO is one of the most popular computer vision models. I can't remember the date, so it's kind of old. Now we are in version 5, I think. I'm using the V3 because it's the one that is super popular. And the idea is that when you use YOLO, you have a couple of files here, you have the model, you have the weights, and you have a list with all of the objects that you can detect. This is a model that was trained to detect, I can't remember, but a lot of codenames. Let me open this one. You have all of these labels that you can detect: person, bicycles, car, motorbike, blah, blah, blah. There are 80 that you can use it. And hey, the way that you use this with OpenCV is that it's like this one. So you load the net, you load the model. When you load the model, you have different ways that you can also later run the model. You can use if you have CUDA libraries installed and everything is working fine, and I'm saying fine because it's usually tricky when you update your drivers to have CUDA up and running. I don't have them up and running right now. You can use CUDA, you can choose OpenCV to run in your CPU or in your GPU. So there are a couple of things, but by default, you just load the model. You load an image. I will have here an image. I am resizing my image. And then the next step is, hey, let's analyze the image. How you do this? This is the part that you need to know how this model works. So you need to know which is the input that is expected from the model and what the model is going to give you back. And with that, once you know this, you convert the image to a blob, then you put the blob to be analyzed in the network. And then with this, what I am doing here is basically start to figure out the output for YOLO. YOLO give me what has been detected in the image. And then it's basically give me the coordinates to, I detected the bike in top and left, and bottom, top and left, so I can draw a frame. I will start to draw here what we have. So it will look maybe complicated, but what I am doing here is I'm basically getting the right centers and width to draw the frame. It's ABC code, and what I can do is run this demo. Let me set up startup project, and it will analyze the original image that I have with my family in Mont Tremblant, and it will show in a window the output for that. Let me search in the monitors in which one is going to appear. By the way, there it is. By the way, it will take some time. So this is great. This works, but it's not 20 frames per second. I mean, unless you have a very powerful machine. So depending, when you are running these deep learning models, you have some CPU or GPU execution time there. But take a look at the output here. It's kind of amazing. It's detected a white car in the back, which is, okay, it's a car. It's also somehow detected my car with just a very small portion of the car, which is basically the back of my trunk there. Detected 1, 2, 3 bicycles. One of the bicycles, the white one, is just half a bicycle. So it's, yes, Igor said that memory allocation is great. Also, this is amazing here. In C++, I can't remember how many blue screens I had working with OpenCV because my memory, my malloc, I'm not very good skills that I have in my memory working. Here it's super easy and it works great. And hey, we have here 4 persons. So I have myself, my wife, my 2 kids, and it's run in a couple of seconds. It runs like this. I can run this also if we want with my camera. Let me start this one again with, let's say, start a project. And this will access my camera. I think I added yes, there is my camera. And let me double check because I think I added a key enabler here. If I press, no, what is this one? Oh, this is the webcam. No, this is the one that I want to run. Sorry about that.
So we have a question I wanted to get to in the chat for the ML gods on the show here, Bruno and Luis. The question is, can we share models between OpenCV and ML.net?
Not that I'm aware of. Yeah, not that I'm aware of because they're different formats. But in the case where you saw Bruno was using, I think, what is it, get blob from image or something like that, right? Where you were getting the results using the model, right? You could probably replace that, line with some sort of ML.net scoring functionality that still uses the same or a similar model as long as it's in Onyx format. So, could you use it or transfer them? Probably not, but there probably are other versions of the model, right? Because I think the model used here is like the actual model, the darknet, the one trained with darknet, I think, which is the language or framework that YOLO was trained with originally. If you want to use it with .NET, you probably want to use the Onyx version of the YOLO v3 model.
Yes, and just to show you how this works, I just changed my camera. I add here, I can put myself here in the camera, but I remove myself and change my background. This is a race that we ran a couple of weeks ago here in Canada. There is a lot of people here and these kind of things. If I enable the detection, there it is. And if I add a live whatever, I am going to appear here and it's going to be me talking here. And as you can see here, the delay is not internet. The delay is probably I am analyzing 1 or 2 frames per second, maybe less than 1 frame per second. But again, the code is very, very simple. It's connect to a data source, which is the camera, And once you are here in the data source, try to understand what is happening there, load YOLO or one of the other models, and start to see how you can use it.
Yeah, I think just the fact that it was running, right, is a testament to how efficient it is in terms of memory, because you're streaming and you're sharing your camera, and now you're sharing your camera. And on top of that, you're using machine learning to analyze your camera as well, right? So that takes up a lot of resources. So the fact that it's running, that's just a win in itself.
Yes, and by the way, thanks to Windows 11, somehow, I don't know why, I don't know the deep part here, all of my machine learning and computer vision demos are smooth right now. So I know that there is some memory management there that is improved, but I am not going to claim why until I get deep to understand what's happening here. But yes, as you mentioned, doing OBS, doing the demo, doing a couple of things on top of that, it's nice. And again, for me, the code it's easy to understand. You load the model, and then with the model, you analyze an image. And the image might came from a video, might came from your camera, from other places.
And we had a question about if there's something similar to work with audio. So you show images and videos. Are you familiar with any libraries that you can work with audio?
No, so sorry. I'm a complete newbie. I'm a complete blank there. No, I never work with audio unless it's another topic. But no, I don't know. I don't know an OpenCV but for audio.
And Bruno is asking to share with you that there is an adaptive vision studio for OpenCV. So he thinks you're enjoying. It's a free GUI for OpenCV. So, and that's also a reminder for our community. Like if you have some subject that you're passionate about, you want to come to the show and share, we would love to have you. And like Bruno is here sharing his knowledge, you can come. Like you can see, there's no requirement to know it all. We're very super friendly, I think. So I'm biased, but I think.
Yeah, I second what you said there, Myra. Don't feel like you have to be a know-it-all. We're not looking for experts. I mean, experts are certainly welcome, but I can tell you I'm not an expert in anything. I do feel, we'd like to give folks out there the platform to come and share something they're passionate about in the .NET space.
Yes, and as you mentioned, I am going to share all of the demos later. I will also include these ones where I am not using the OpenCV window to show my demos. This is a WinForm. Remember, I'm old school, so I started with WinForms in the 2000s. So this is WinForms and OpenCV, and you can do the same with WPF. I will probably need to check here how to do this with WinUI 3. But hey, this is a demo where I use two different ways to detect faces using a trained deep learning model or hard cascades. And hey, it's all around here to give it a try.
Very cool. So we've got about 5 minutes remaining in the show. Is there any last thing you wanted to show the audience or share, Bruno?
No, I will say that hey, if you want to give this a try, the coolest thing that you can do also here is that there are so many already trained models that you can start to use, like this one, which I never make it work at the first time, so sorry about that. But this is the post-net element. So in a couple of seconds, you will see my body detected there with my joints. I was a big fan of Kinect. I did a lot of stuff with Kinect. And now, hey, it's the same what we just see. I capture an image from the camera. I start to analyze this. I use this pre-trained model. I can't remember who created the postnet. It's maybe the Google team. I can't remember, but it's a super popular model that you can use it. And there it is. You are detecting poses. You are detecting joints with people. So you can detect when someone waves or someone do something else. It's a nice way to try to play around because there are so many already trained models that you can use.
That is awesome.
It is. The outline there reminded me of watching Toy Story with my son and Forky. I don't know if you've seen that movie, but for some odd reason, I was reminded of that. Well, very cool.
Okay.
Bruno, I'd like to thank you for coming on the show today and sharing your knowledge with us. For folks that didn't see it, Bruno did share the GitHub repo where this code can be found. His GitHub alias is elbruno. It's ELBRUNO. Do go out there and take a look at what he's got to share. This has been the .NET Doc Show. Keep in mind, we've got show recordings, upcoming topics, and more available at our website, and that is .NETDocs.dev. Next week on the show, we will actually have what has been a very hot topic over the last several months. Microsoft MVP Nick Shopsis will join us to talk about minimal APIs in .NET 6 in the context of ASP.NET Core. So if you've seen the new project templates, chances are you've encountered these minimal APIs. Next week, you will learn more about the what and the why. Before we let folks go for this week, we do want to send out a reminder that .NET Conf is coming out on, I believe it's November 9th through the 11th. And our friend C# Fritz has a short video to share with us to tell you more about what to expect.
Save the date for .NET Conf 2021, November 9th through the 11th for the .NET 6 launch. .NET Conf is our annual free 3-day virtual developer event co-organized by the .NET community and Microsoft, sponsored by the .NET Foundation and our ecosystem partners. For 3 days, you'll learn from featured speakers from the community and .NET teams at Microsoft, talking about .NET 6, C# 10, Azure, Visual Studio, and more. This is your chance to learn, ask questions live, and get inspired for your next software project. We've got wall-to-wall content for web, mobile, cloud, desktop, games, services, libraries, and a variety of platforms and devices, all with .NET. Everyone is going to learn something, no matter if you're just beginning or you're a seasoned engineer. Don't delay. Head to www.dotnetconf.net. That's .NETconf.net to learn more and tune in.
Again, that's all we had for this week's show. I'd like to send another big thank you out to Bruno and for all of the folks who tuned in today and sent us all of the fantastic questions. We'll see you next week on the .NET Doc Show.